George Merchant. And George Merchant?
I was an equal opportunity merchant of death.
And what do you say to your other nickname, the Merchant of Death?
You see, the land Merchant was buying had little value in of itself, but if it became accessible by road, it would be a prime location for, say, you were already suspicious that George Merchant was buying up a large area of land on the outskirts of Sanford after an article Tim Messenger wrote in the Sanford Citizen.
I was now the best merchant of death alive.
The merchant tribe will not challenge today.
Folks tell me I'm just a born merchant.
For good cancer, merchant!
No traveler, emperor, merchant, or poet has trodden on these sands and not gasped in awe.
He was a very well-known merchant.
10 times what George Merchant and Martin Blower, God rest them, offered me.
It comes from the merchant boat straight to the palace.
Going back to the merchant marine.
No merchant may trade with him!
Who is this merchant?
Which is the merchant here and which the Jew?
You're a merchant.
$100 down on the counter and say, please, Mr. Merchant of Death, sir, please. Sell me something that'll stink up my breath and my clothes and fry my lungs?
No merchant is minding his shop.
I had one merchant to call me, and he said, I want you to know that I've talked to my national office today.
George Merchant secured permission to build his dubious mansion on Norris Avenue.
Now I learn you are a ruck merchant, selling the same ruck to two customers.
Financial districts swollen with multinationals, conglomerates, and fat, bloated merchant banks.
I've had several voyages in the merchant service.
I'm Jim Lampley with Larry Merchant and Max Kellerman live from the Mandalay Bay Hotel in Las Vegas.
Perhaps he is a shepherd, a merchant, a fisherman.
There is no murder in the Merchant of Venice.
Your Grace, you know these merchant boys are richer than we are.
He's a merchant, well thought of in Antioch.
Are you Mr. Merchant?
His name's George Merchant.
Larry Merchant was writing your obituary, and Sanchez drops like he shot with a gun.
Merchant ship's vulnerable at rear of convoy.
We're just hoping to talk to the last people to see Mr. Merchant alive.
There was one Mitchell of note who served in the Merchant Marine.
You dated Riza Stavros, the Merchant of Death?
The Mr. Merchant who didn't order the fucking pie.
I'm American, I'm a merchant mariner.
So the merchant loaned him the horse, and the servant mounted it, and...
Porter spreading out on a national scale, going to be a big merchant prince.
Hell, I'm the only merchant in town, but who'd have known?
I raise cattle so my son can be a merchant.
He's got Kropotkin, the wine merchant.
You don't look like a merchant.
Once upon a time, many, many years ago, a rich merchant in Baghdad sent his servant to the marketplace to buy provisions.
With the help of countless merchant seamen, using nearly 1,000 ships of all kinds.
He was a merchant sailor, a good, respectable man who obeyed the law.
I left the merchant navy and I was...
We heard about a tenant farmer one county over who was beaten so badly by a store merchant he can't bring in a crop.
The warrior, the artist, the merchant, and the farmer. He joined the merchant service after he got out.
This strict course of Venice must needs give sentence against the merchant there.
So why did you pick this sea merchant?
How did a dirt merchant like you ever learn about likeness rights?
Some merchant ships caught fire.
Dear Frank Merchant, enjoyed watching you play.
Merchant vessels run heavily armed.
Our American merchant ships must be protected by our American Navy.
Then I called Rita Scott, an old actress friend of mine, who was in the Merchant of Venice this year with the ever-popular Tony DeForest.
I even proposed to the daughter of a wealthy nutmeg merchant, too.
I'm also arresting you on suspicion of the murder of Tim Messenger on May the 1st, of George Merchant on April the 29th, and of Eve Draper and Martin Blower on April the 28th.
The merchant seaman with the missing finger. I had it from a friend of mine, an Englishman, a merchant captain.
American merchant ships carrying vital supplies to George Washington's army were largely responsible for our first victory as a free nation.
Look, I'm not just some dirt merchant loose in the street anymore.
You merchant, have you anything to say?
A sleaze merchant like Larry Flynn.
Well, I was in the Merchant Marines.
But, Mother, we have not yet settled our accounts with the coal merchant and the butcher.
The Union of Merchant Seamen?
You're a merchant of some sort?
George Merchant?
Yes!
I'm a local merchant.
Merchant of Venice. Your so-called piratas, your pirates attack our merchant ships daily, and you think we don't know where the orders come from?
Merchant Marine again? Just...
I was merely trying to further a respectable career in the employ of a timber merchant.
As a businessman,
grain merchant.
That the above-named seller, Wong Lung, shall deliver to the respected merchant, Liu Feng Qi, the said wheat as and when same is harvested.
Now, I saw that letter you got from the merchant marines.
From merchant?
Blew these burning galleys right into the merchant shipping.
The rich merchant, I fear, is fair game.
I only have so many merchant wishes.
Do you want every merchant and businessman in the county up against us with decisions like that?
Jack served in the merchant marines.
He's just a simple wool merchant from Kent.
This is the tale of Batista Manola, a merchant of old Padua who is firmly resolved not to bestow his younger daughter, Bianca.
I need to talk to you about George Merchant.
Harold's a merchant banker, as you know.
Every merchant who banks with us knows that.
Maybe.
One of their merchant ships sank 6 months ago.
It's the Merchant of Venice, and it's
He's a very rich merchant.
Well, if you weren't with the merchant marine, where the hell were you?
Mr. Merchant tried to have a little fry up and left the gas on.
Finder a merchant.
Feather merchant, I think they call it.